As I went around in class today, I was noticing that some students are struggling with noses and how to draw them properly. For this assignment, it may be beneficial for you to draw more than just the bottom part of the nose. Include the bridge of the nose as well, so you can really get to see how this weird thing on our face takes its form and its shape. Okay? Plus, when you add value to this, your bridge is an object that stands in between your light source. And so you're going to have a shadow casted from the bridge of your nose. So it's really important that that gets included. I want to show you one way that we could go about doing the 3/4 view. This one is probably the most challenging because whatever face you're using as a reference is slightly turned. And so you see a little bit of both nostrils, but you don't see 2 full nostrils, and we'll look further into that. To begin, you're going to just draw one plane like this. I have these connect. This is going to be the bridge of my nose. I'm going to make this as the bottom of my nose in a triangle here. Okay. This might need to be angled a little bit more. And then I'm going to draw a line back here, extremely light, connecting this corner up to here. So we can start to see the nose as a 3D shape. All the little pieces that make up the bridge of our nose, the side of our nose, and the bottom of our nose are kind of strange objects. As you begin to practice this more and more, it's going to make more sense to you. After you have this here, I want you to do one giant ball that touches each corner here, like this. You're going to do a circle down here. And also one back here. So now I have basically the structure all planned out. What I'm going to do is take a contour line and go over all of this. I'm still going to draw extremely light until I know that my drawing is right. So I'm going to draw this piece from the eyebrow coming down over the nose. This part of my nose is going to come down. This will be a little bit harder here. And then I'm actually going to harden this edge over here. After that, you are going to add in the nostrils. This side is going to be much larger because that's what we're looking at. We will not see this one. You might see a tiny bit, but not much at all. And once you have your contour line nice and hard, you've got the shape of your object and it seems to be making sense to you, then you can go in and erase the structure that we used to build up our entire nose. Again, this is why you should be drawing extremely light. You need to be able to erase it. When you go to do your nose on your final, If you draw too hard, that is going to show through on your work. It's going to be harder to add value. Okay, so there's a 3/4 nose. Once you add value though, this is going to be super dark, probably like your 9 or 10 box on your value scales, and it is slowly going to fade out as it becomes more exposed to the light. But then your value is going to shade into the under part of your nose. Now right where we had the sphere, you can still see a little bit of that drawing there. I'm going to act as though my light is coming from here, which means that this area is going to be a lot darker because it's underneath the tip of my nose. So it's going to be dark, fading up to lighter. Then once I hit my sphere, I need to be shading in the cross contours of that sphere from dark all the way up until where my highlight is most likely going to be. Typically, if your light source is coming from a side that has a very dark edge, then those two are not correct. If your light source is hitting the edge of an object, this should be the absolute lightest line. Down here, it makes sense for this line to be darker, just because that's going to be a dark area. It's furthest away from my light source. After this, I'm going to shade in the cross contours of the sphere that was here. I'm going to start off with one of my values that I saw in the middle of my value scale when I was making those. And then layer by layer, I am going to build up darker values, still making sure that I fill this little ball, shading in the shape of the cross contours. Now I'm starting to change my shading direction as I go up the side of the nose. I want to show that this bridge of the nose is not laying flat on a face, but popping out. So the direction of my line is super important. And then as I approach this part of the nose, the bridge, my shading is starting to wrap around this panel, okay? So if you choose to smudge with your finger, instead of smudging up and down, you're going to smudge going around the bridge of the nose. Then you can use your eraser to go back in and pull up any highlights that may appear. So I might have some at the top of this nostril. I'm definitely going to have my light source hitting the top bridge part. And I will most likely have a nice clean highlight right above the inside of the nostril. Now because the light is hitting here, and this is a three-dimensional object, it comes off of our faces. So it's going to bother me if I don't add this in real quick. My next value. Because this is a three-dimensional object, this object creates a shadow that gets casted onto the cheek that is over this way. You can choose to draw that in these practice ones if you want to. It's not required. But the shadow will probably look something like this. It's an odd shadow. So then you are going to start with your middle value. And then once this entire shape has been shaded in like this, you are going to layer by layer build up all the way until you get to your darkest value that we used for the nostril. That's going to be used, Macy, that's going to be used here for the shadow as well. Then it's eventually going to fade back out. So it's not going to be a harsh line. It's just going to be a nice dark shadow. You might find your shadow goes up the nose as well. The nose shadow is kind of fun because it's always going to look pretty organic. It should just stretch across the cheek.